Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. Now it's been a long time that we haven't done a Q&A session. So today we are going to answer one of your questions. Someone has mentioned in the comments that it said that what to do when the life is becoming unfair and what to do when life is not going in my way. Well, we are going to talk about this today. First of all, remember the nature of our life. What is the nature of our life? Life is a little bit unfair. That is the real nature. But the problem is we expect that everything in our life to be perfect and to be fair. That is the problem. That is where the real problem is. Because Buddha said, if you have expectations, if you have more and more expectations inside yourself, chances are very high for you to feel so stressed. So remember that expectations stands for suffering. If you expect the life to be fair, you will suffer, right? So the nature of our life is, it is a little bit unfair. So, how to face such situations? How to face unfair situations in our life? Well, I want you to do 3 things when you face tough situations in your life. Right? These are very simple, but yet when you practice it, it is very hard to do that, but you can achieve it. Number 1, first of all, you need to realize what the situation is. That is the first thing that you have to do. If you're going through a hard time, right, you need to analyze about that and see what the problem is. Well, there are 2 types of situations in our life. What is that? First type of situation is the situations which are in our control. Experiences which can be changed by ourselves, right? And the second type of situation is the situations which are out of our control. We cannot do many things about that situation, right? So these are the 2 types of situations that we go through in our life. So first of all, you need to analyze and you need to see what the problem is, whether it is in my control or out of my control. Alright? When you realize about the situation, then you can do something about that situation. Okay? That is the first thing you have to do. Analyze the situation. Number 2, if it is a situation that is in your control, just do something to change that situation. So, what are the things that are in our control? What are the situations and experiences that we face in our life and which are in our control? Well, if you face a bad time, if you face a stressful situation because of your own faults, because of a mistake that is within yourself, then you can change it. Because we own our mistakes. We are the owners of our mistakes, and the mistakes can only be changed by ourselves. No one can change that. Someone can advise you, someone can show you the path, but no one can make it correct than you. So, what you have to do, you have to change the situation. If it is your mistake, correct it. If it is your fault, then do something about it to change that situation. So these are the things that are in our control. Remember. Here's the third one. When we face the situations that are out of our control, how to face that situation? Well, these are the situations we spend most of our time trying to change that, but we cannot do anything about that situation. So what are the situations which are out of our control? There are many things, right? Criticism is out of your control. People's opinions They're out of our control. How people behave in front of you is totally out of your control. They are their choices, not your own choice. But we try to change these situations and we become so sad and depressed trying to change, and we find that we cannot change this situation. So if you cannot change the situation, what you have to do? You have to change your perspective about the situation, right? You can change the perspective about the situation, because the perspective and the way you see that about that situation is totally in your control. Because your thoughts are in your control, right? So what you need to do is, if you cannot change the situation, change the perspective, change the way you see about that situation. Okay? So remember, when people act weird in front of you, when people try to make you angry, when people criticize you, right? When people give unwanted opinions about you, just think, these things are out of my control. I should not waste my time of my life to change these situations. It is much better to change my perspective about this situation. So how can you change the situation? How can you change the perspective? You can be kind to them, right? You can maintain a positive mindset inside you. Right? It is much better to maintain a positive mindset daily, every day. Right? Listen to some things, positive words every day. It is much better to do that, because the more you listen to the positive words, positive ideas, right? Then the more you become positive inside. Right? Then you can change your perspective about the situation. That is what you can do. Always remember what Buddha said. It is a nice quote that Buddha said that describes about the life. Buddha said, "Achinti tampi bhavati, chinti tampi vinasati." That is one of the greatest and one of the nicest quotes that Buddha have told about the life. In life, Buddha said, "Achinti tampi bhavati." Most of the times, unexpected things happen. Isn't that true? We don't know what will happen in the next time. Right? It is a mystery. So in life, always unexpected things happen. And the things that we expected will going to be destroyed. Right? If we expect something, we don't get the same thing. That is the thing. So, remember that quote that was said by the Buddha. Achinti tampi bhavati, chinti tampi vinasati. Right? And there's another quote that was said by the Buddha. Sadharanang vihanyanti. If you expect the life to be fair, chances are more that for you to suffer in your life. So live with less expectations, right? If you are going through a tough situation, just analyze the situation, realize about the situation, and if you can change the situation, do something about it. If you cannot do something about the situation, change your perspective. That is what you can do when the life is not going in your way. So make your life a peaceful one with the teaching. Why do bad things happen to good people? Sometimes you've asked this question from yourself. I'm a good person. I help everyone. I don't hurt anyone. I can see myself as a good person. But still, why all these bad things? Why all these painful things, sufferings happen to my life? Why life always keep testing me always? Well, these questions we've asked most of the times in our life, right? Do you know how Buddha saw this? In the night of his enlightenment, the first thing that he realized was that life consists of suffering. Suffering is a part of everyone's life, right? So Buddha did not say suffering as a part of good people's life or a bad people's life. Buddha saw that suffering was universal. Right? But when we face adversities in life, when we face these realities like painful situations in our life, we think that the only person who is going through this suffering, the only person that is going through this difficulty is only me. That is how everyone feels. Not to lie, sometimes I feel that. But what Buddha teaches us to see it as is to see the suffering as a universal thing. I'll tell you a story. A young mother lost her baby. But she loved her baby so much that she refused to accept her baby's death. What she did? She took her baby and ran from one village to another, one city to another, finding a doctor to cure her baby. But no one could bring a dead person back to life. Finally, she met the Buddha. The Buddha said, "Okay, I will cure your baby. But we need one medicine to do this. Can you bring it? Go and bring a handful of mustard from a family that no one has ever died." So the mother was so much happy. She thought that she could find this easily. So she ran to the village and went to the first house that she found and asked, "Do you have a handful of mustard that I can get?" Then when the householder was about to give the handful of mustard, she said, "Has anyone died in your family?" Then they said, "Oh, my uncle died last year." Then she said, "I don't want your mustard." She went to the next house and she got the same answer. Someone had died. She went to the other one. She went from one house to another and she went through the whole village. The only word that she heard was, "Someone died." Death. Then she understood, okay, death is not only for me. Death was something that I always heard in this journey. Maybe my child is dead. So she made her heart strong enough to accept her baby's death. She went back to the monastery to meet the Buddha and thanked the Buddha for curing not the baby but her heart. What Buddha teaches us to see about life is that to see the suffering as universal. So next time when you go through a difficulty in your life, the next time when you go through a hardship, painful feeling in life, understand that you are not all alone. There are so many people who is going through in life, that's in the same situation, the suffering. Okay? Most of the time, we try to remove the suffering from life. We always wish that this suffering was not there in our life. Right? We go to sleep thinking that next day morning when we wake up, all these things will be a dream. All these problems will disappear. But the reality is, when there is suffering in life, there is suffering. So that the first thing that we need to do is that accept that there is suffering in life. So the whole point of realizing the first noble truth in Buddhism is to accept the suffering as it is, to see the suffering as it is. Only when you accept the suffering, we can cure it. We can find a remedy for it. First of all, you need to accept that there is pain and suffering in all of our lives, right? And then we can choose what to do with it. Most of the time, we spend a lot of time worrying about changing what we can't change, right? But it all depends on how you choose to react to these experiences in life. Most of the time, these painful feelings, sufferings that comes to our life are blessings in disguise, right? If we did not get difficult situations, if we did not get hardships to our life, right, challenges in our life, how can we develop a strong mindset, right? There's a saying that if you need to learn how to swim, what do you have to do? You have to jump to the pool. Somehow you have to experience how drowning feels like. Only then you can realize that what should I do to learn how to swim, right? In the same way, there is no use of trying to avoid or wishing and praying that suffering was not there in life, right? There's no point of wishing and praying that please don't give me suffering. Always wish a mindset that you can face strongly to all these sufferings and painful situations in life. Whenever you get a strong mind to face any kind of challenge in your life, then you can be happy and in peace because you're ready for anything in your life, right? So always wish a strong mindset that you can face any challenge, any difficult situation in life. So remember that not only bad things happen to good people, good things also happen to good people. And also, sometimes you may think, why all those good things happen to bad people, right? It is not always the case. Good things happen to bad people and also bad thing happens to good people. That is the law of this world. So we all need to develop the mindset to see the suffering as a common truth to everyone, not a personal thing. So I wish you all, may all of you be able to develop a strong mindset to face any challenge in all of your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. If there is one simple word that we all struggle to say, and that is no. N-O, no. Two simple letters, one simple word, but saying no can be the most hardest thing in life to do. Why we struggle to say no? The reason why we struggle to say no is because we have gotten used to say yes to many unimportant things in life. Okay? When we say yes to unimportant things in life, what happens to us? We miss the chance and we miss the time to say yes to the important things in life and to the things that really matters to us. Okay? And that is why we need to learn how to say no to unimportant things and how to say yes and how to be more focused on saying yes to the important things in life. Okay? So the reason why I'm doing this video is because a couple of days ago I came across this word. When I was chanting, I came across this word in Karanimettha Sutta. The Buddha says, Appakicho, do less. If you practice the Buddha's teachings, if you practice the spiritual path, or in any area of your life, you have to do less. Do not do more. Now, the society says the quite opposite thing to us. The society says that do more. The more you do, the more you achieve. Do many things as much as you can, then you will achieve. But turns out doing more will not help us to be more productive. Okay? To be more productive in what we are doing. To be more productive what really matters to in life. So that is why we have to master to say no to certain things in life and really be focused on what really matters to us. So from this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that will help you to say no to unimportant things in life and to say yes and to be more focused on what really matters to you. Before learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, we have to understand why we say yes to unimportant things in life. The reason why we say yes to unimportant things is because of fear most of the time. Sometimes it is because of the fear of missing out. Sometimes it is the fear of letting someone down. Sometimes it is the fear of the only one to say no. Okay? Sometimes it is the fear of making the wrong decision. So that is why we say yes to unimportant things in life. And sometimes we say yes not only to the people, but also for the things in life. Okay? For an example, let's say you're studying. While you're studying, you have the mobile phone beside you. Okay? All of a sudden, you see a notification pops up on your phone. Now, you know that you're studying and you know that you have to be really focused on that. Okay? But you pick up the phone and you check what it is. Sometimes it is not necessary for you, but you check it and you say yes to that distraction. Let's say sometimes you plan to learn or to meditate in an evening. All of a sudden, you get a call from your friend and say that they ask for you to come with them to go shopping, maybe go to a party or to go to a walk. Because of fear of putting that person down or letting that someone down or to say no, we say yes to them. Okay? So when you say yes to them, sometimes we miss the chance and we miss that valuable time to be focused, to be more focused on what really matters to us. Okay? What really helps us to achieve our larger purpose in life. And that is why we have to learn how to say no correctly. So here are the few steps that you can help you to achieve that. The first step to saying no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-awareness. Okay? You have to have a good understanding what really matters to you and why you say yes to certain things and why you say no to certain things. When you're aware of that, then you can easily say yes to important things in life and no to unimportant things in life. So before saying yes to something, just ask from yourself this question, why? Why am I saying yes to this? Okay? Before saying yes to something or to a person, just figure out why you say yes to that person or why you say yes to that thing. Okay? Before you say no to certain things, you have to figure out why you are saying no to certain things in life. For an example, let's say you need to check your mobile phone. Okay, your mind says to check your mobile phone. Before doing that, you have to ask from yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why should I do this? When you ask from yourself that question, you become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of what you're doing. The Buddha says, before you do something or before you say something, just ask from yourself that is it helpful for me? Is this thing that I'm going to do is helpful for me or helpful for others? Is it good for me? Is it good for others? When you ask from yourself that question, and if you come to the answer that yes, this is really worthy of saying yes, this is really worthy of saying this is really important to me, then do it. But if you come across the answer that no, this doesn't really matters to me, okay, it is not important to my life, then by all means do not do it, because it steals your time, the valuable time in your life. So the first step of saying no, learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, is to build a good self-awareness. The second step of learning to say no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-discipline. And now this is the most hardest part, because it takes a lot of courage and grit to say no. And you need to be more disciplined to say no to unimportant things in life. Because sometimes the things that we say no, we have to say no to unimportant things in life, may be the most enjoyable things in life. Okay? Let's say like we all like to enjoy in life, but sometimes those things that makes us enjoyable will not help us to be more productive. Okay, for an example, let's say you are going to study and you're planning to study, you're planning to meditate, but well, sometimes your friends ask you to come and join to a party. Okay, now you like to go to a party, but you know that the most important thing in your life is the learning process. That is what helps you to achieve more success. The most important thing in life is to build a good spiritual, a strong spiritual base in your life. So then it is very difficult to say no to those things because we fancy in doing all those things. Okay, so that is where we need the self-discipline, to be disciplined and to say no. This is what really matters to me and I have to do it. Then you have to say no to those people politely. You can explain why you are saying no. Okay, I heard this one quote saying that learn to say no to people without explaining yourself. I would say learn to say no to people and explain why you're saying no to them. Then they can understand why you're saying no. Okay, so then they will respect your time and your values in your life. So that is why we have to learn to say no politely and correctly. The third step is to understand that your time is valuable. Time is the most valuable asset that we have in our hand. Okay, and our time on this earth is really limited. You don't have an infinite time on this earth. We have a finite time and we have to use that limited time very well. So I would suggest look at your time like you look at your money. Okay, so when you get money, you don't spend that money lavishly or to whichever the thing that you want. You don't put that money wherever you are. No, we become more serious and you become more serious about your money. Same like that. Think about your time as you think about your money. Okay, because money can be earned again, but the time cannot be earned again. You cannot take back the time. It is limited. And that is why in this limited time, you have to do the best thing that you can do. Okay, be more serious when it comes to time. Don't waste it. Okay, it is the most valuable asset that we have. If you value time, if you respect your time, then you can say no to unimportant things and then you can learn to say yes to what really matters in your life. Okay, so respect your time and also respect other people's time as well. And the next step is to ask this magic question. The magic question is it really necessary? Before you say something, before you do something, before you say yes to someone or something, ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Okay, sometimes because we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we don't know that we don't really need it. For an example, let's say you came back home after a tired day, okay, and you say yes to social media. And you scroll through and it steals maybe 1 or 2 hours of your valuable time. In that time, there is someone that is valuable that you can do. Maybe to talk with your kids, maybe talk with your parents, maybe talk with your children. Then you can be more engaging with them and do something valuable with them. Instead of hanging out in social media and wasting that valuable time, just we can do something valuable. Before doing that, we have to ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Then you can decide what to say no and what to say yes. Okay, so keep that in your mind. And the final step is to figure out what is really important to you, what really matters to you. Now, the most of the time, the reason why we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we haven't figured out what really matters in life. Okay, what really matters to us. So that is why if you have a good understanding what is the larger purpose of your life, what really matters to you, what is really valuable in your life, you can be more focused on that and say no to other things in life that really never helps you to achieve the larger purpose in your life. So I would suggest take a quiet time in your day to figure out what really matters to me today. What should I do, and what is the most important thing that I should do today to achieve the larger purpose of my life? In that way, you will have a good understanding what really matters in your life and the things that don't really matters in your life. And be more focused in doing those things. Sometimes it is more enjoyable doing unimportant things in life. But although it is enjoyable, although it is hard to say no to all those distractions, we have to say no to them, because those are the things that prevents us engaging and achieving the larger purpose in our life. So finally, these are the tips that you can practice to say no to unimportant things and to say no to distractions in your life and to be more focused on what really matters. So finally, saying no can be really hard. I know it is really hard, but in order to achieve a happy life and a calmer life and a more disciplined life, we have to say no, and we have to learn to say no to unimportant things in life. So practice these little tips and then you'll be happy in your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. Today, let's talk about how to have a better sleep and a healthy sleep. Now, sleep is something that we all struggled, and we all have struggled in all of our lives, right? And there are many people in this world who struggle with sleeping. When they wake up in the morning, they feel miserable and tired even more, okay? So there are a lot of problems with sleep. So in this video, I am going to share with you 3 tips that we monks practice in order to have a better sleep, all right? This is in our daily routine. So without any further ado, let's dive into the video. Tip number 1. The first thing that you have to do is to wind down for your bed, okay? That means sleep is something that we have to approach gradually and peacefully. It's like you're getting ready for an occasion, right? Now for an occasion, maybe an interview or a meeting, what do? You get ready, right? You get your clothes done, you get your documents done, and you get ready for it. Same like that, sleep is an important occasion in our day. So what we have to do, we have to get ready for it, okay? So how can we get ready? So here are a few things that you can practice to wind down for your bed. The first thing that you have to do, this is not a problem because we don't have our dinner. We only have 2 meals per day, right? Some monks have 1 meal per day. Normally we have 2 meals per day, that is breakfast and lunch. We don't have the dinner, okay? So have a light meal for your dinner and eat at least 4 to 3 hours before the bed, before your sleep time. Now when you do this, your digestion is over and it is finished and it is at rest. Now you can go to the bed peacefully and drink enough water before you go to bed, okay? And also, this is something that many people do, right? Do not bring your mobile phone or laptop or any device that you're using to the bed, right? There are many people who use, right? There are thousands of people who use their mobile phone on their bed before sleep, okay? AM or 2 AM in the night, in the morning. Don't do that. So what do you have to do? Avoid as much as possible this screen time, blue light screen and everything, avoid them, okay? Because these screens and these lights stimulates our brain, okay? If you can be relaxed and listen to, so you have to wind down before sleep. And another thing that you can do is to you cannot have a cold shower, then have a lukewarm water shower, okay? Cleaning your body will help you to wind down and make your body feel relaxed, okay? Then even your mind feel peaceful, okay? So this is how we wind down for our bed. Tip number 2 is to practice the gratitude, right? Now we monks, when we go to the bed, right, we just sit on the bed and we close our eyes and think the people, and we recall all the people who have helped in our life, right? They may be your parents, they may be your relatives, your husband, your wife, your children, or there are certain things that we feel grateful for. So what do you have to do? Be grateful for them, right? Simply say thank you for all of them, right? Remember and recall all the people who have helped you in your way, in your life journey, and be thankful for them in your mind. That is something that we can do, because gratitude is a powerful emotion. If you generate it, you feel the happiness within your mind, and it will help you to have a peaceful sleep. So tip number 2 is to practice gratitude. And finally, as tip number 3, what you have to do is to recall a good deed that you have done earlier. This is something that I personally do before every day, before I'm going to bed. I recall all the good deeds that I have done during the day, good things that I have done during the day, and also I recall the good things that I have done in the past. Okay? So it is always good to keep one good deed or few good deeds in your mind. I personally have 2 good deeds in my life. Among every other good deed, these 2 good deeds help me a lot to feel much more happy. They may be not big things, but you feel so much happy when you think that you have done it. Okay? It can be a little act of kindness, right? It can be giving some little food to an animal or a person that makes you feel happy. Before every time you go to bed, what you have to do is to recall all the good deeds, good things that you have done in the past. Now, when you do this, you will feel a very positive self-esteem in your mind, right? You feel that your life is worthy and you have done good deeds, right? You are a good person, because there are many people, they go to bed regretting about their life. Okay? Remember, no matter how hard or tough your life becomes, there is always positive things in your life. There are always good things that you have done in your life. The only thing that we have to do is to recall them, right? The more we remember the good things that we have done, the more we become happy. That is one result of doing good things. So these are the few things that we can do to practice to have a better and a healthy sleep. So as a summary, what you have to do is, first thing, wind down, relax your mind before you go to bed. Number 2, practice gratitude. And finally, number 3, recall the good things that you have done in your day and in your life. If you do these things and if you practice these things, I can assure that you will have a peaceful and a healthy and a better sleep. So practice these things and have a peaceful night.